here we're going to be building a wardrobe with sliding doors, which I think becomes more popular now. Sliding doors, I mean. The only thing I would say, what I don't like about the system is that you do lose quite a bit of space for your track and doors and everything. So that's, I suppose, the downside, but if you've got no choice, that is the way forward really. So I think you can happy and we'll catch up with you soon. which is basically to make a square cuts with your planch saw, and unfortunately it failed. I'll show you. Clip in there, and theoretically this should be cutting square like that. But unfortunately I got to say it caused more problems than help, because yesterday we were those panels, the 4 panels I've cut, they were the first ones which I cut without the square, which I usually use, and silly of me that I didn't check dry fit the doors. So what happened, the diagonal measurement was out by 15 millimeters, which is too much, way too much. There's no way that we were gonna put it in and put it together square, because the rails and the bars were cut on a miter saw or chop saw, call it as you want, and they were square, which we checked with our squares, and unfortunately I think every panel is out about 3 millimeters this device, which is supposed to help you, but unfortunately it doesn't. So, as you can see, I have tried to get it square, but I just thought, you know, well, I'll just take it as a bad experience and go use my old square instead. I have ordered a bigger one, which will be a bit more accurate, because I don't know what to trust now, to be honest, anymore. Because I got a feeling the old square where I got has been bashed a bit, and it doesn't show 100% square anymore. But I still, the best way really to check is your diagonal measurements. That will give you the best accurate reading. So you can also check the length on both sides, the width on both sides. If they all marry, then the next thing is diagonals. Like 4 panels in a row to do. Obviously those 3 millimeters out on every panel made it out by nearly 15 millimeters diagonally, which is quite a lot. So what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna have to remake some of these panels, or middle bars, sorry, not panels. We've got a few here, so we're gonna have to recut all these to make sure they fit. So what we do, we make them slightly smaller. We're gonna lose a couple of these bars because it was so hot yesterday, as it is lately this week. It's just gone off before we took it apart, so we got some out, but not all of it. So we took all the door apart. So we haven't lost all the materials, but we obviously lost time, and that's not great. Not great when you do something like this. So we were hoping to have all the doors fixed, glued yesterday, which didn't happen, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to catch up today, hopefully. I'll let you know that not always things work out well when we do something as well, especially when we use new tools or attachments, tool attachments. However, we have bought another attachment, which is to rip your boards in a width, and that works perfectly, so I could highly recommend that. So it comes in a box. So it is, that's what it is. It's made in UK, so CNC machine. Well, this device is supposed to be a CNC machine, but that obviously isn't, because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So this one, this end clips into the rail, like so. So the minimum width you can get is 23.5. That's the minimum, but there is an attachment which allows you to cut thinner strips, which I don't have at the moment. I have ordered it, and I'll report on that later. I'll let you know if it's worth getting one. But this, regarding cutting carcasses and stuff with Blanchot, is just so much easier. What I would say though, you would need ideally 2 rails, and reason being is so one rail you can use to cut make the first cut. So you take the factory edge off, because not always it's straight, and then when you have this attached, you don't want to be playing with it. Once you set it up, you want to keep it at the setting you want, and then on other rail you would have this set up, and you just, after you've done the pile of your cuts on one side, you can either use, obviously easier would be 2 rails, but if you don't have, you use your big rail, cut one side at first on every board you need to cut, then attach these, set it in the desired width, and yeah, off you go. So this I highly recommend for anyone who's doing work like we do, or cutting boards and stuff. That is really good stuff. We were impressed. We weren't sure, but yeah, it has proved that it's working. So regarding the squares, the best what we found are called engineering squares, but again, because I think I had it for about a year, and I kept it with Blanchot in the box for probably 6 months, and I think that is where I've made a mistake. I should have just had it in a separate box, which I will do with the next one, or make separate box, so it's always kept away from everything, so it can't get damaged, because without proper square you're going to struggle get things married together. And one thing is to make one unit, freestanding unit, but when you've got a whole lot of units, or you make a kitchen or wardrobes, anything, it's just going to be hard to level things because of that. So yeah, I suggest to use squares, so your work is a better quality, and also it's easier to adjust things when you making them, fitting them in a row, say. Otherwise, if it's not square, it's just going to be kicking out, and it's not what you really want. So yeah, I hope it helps someone, and we'll catch up with you next video. need to trim up a little bit. As you remember, we had problems with our new supposedly square cut jig, which obviously it wasn't. So as you can see, it all sits nicely. We will have to cut slightly on this side, these two doors, because obviously it was slightly out, but luckily we noticed it before it was too late. So as you can see, it all lines through, all the lines, and it's all sliding very well. So what we need to do is trim it up. That's why we made it slightly bigger, to allow for trimming, which you should do anyway, normally. So tomorrow we got shelves, hanging rails to finish. I think this was all shelved. No, shelved was right hand side, and then we got a middle, few shelves, and the end, few shelves here. So yeah, that's all sliding nicely. So tomorrow we'll finish them. We'll get these doors out, veneer the edges, cut them, veneer the edges, make sure it all shuts nicely, and yeah, that's one of the sliding doors will be done for us then. We'll catch you in the next video. Done shelves, and then doors work like that. There's the middle one. At the moment we have left it without handles because customer wants sort of seamless, handless look, if you like. I agree on that with him, because it looks better. But you still can open, because all you need to do is just push the side and it glides fairly easy. So hanging there, shelf and a hanging. So as you can see, what we used B&Q rail and B&Q almond for it, because that was the only rail which came at 3.6 meters long, and we needed just under 3.5, so we didn't want to join in the top, so we decided to use that. But nothing else in that length available on a shorter notice, so we went for that. And yeah, that's what it. I think it looks which we built a while ago, probably a year ago. So same style, same amount of bars in there, so it kind of matches them too. So